In this video, we talk about Wing Assistant, which is a VA service for business owners. They have virtual assistants for different type of tasks you might have in e-commerce, Amazon business, and even beyond. So check this conversation to learn how they operate, how they select VAs, how they work with clients. And if you want to sign up with them, check the link below in the description. Hello, Roland. It's nice to have you here. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us how do you help e-commerce and Amazon sellers?
Hi, Augustus. Good to meet you. I'm Roland. I'm one of the founders of Wing Assistant, and we help e-commerce owners, Amazon sellers with all kinds of recurring and or repetitive tasks that need to be done in their business. That can include customer service, product research, listing management, etc. Even inventory management is what some of our e-commerce assistants are doing for Amazon sellers. And we provide value in basically doing all the hiring, the selecting, the managing, quality assurance part, all the administrative hassle, including payroll, is done for you. And that's how we provide value.
This is why I invited you. I wanted to talk more in depth about Wing Assistant, like how you operate, what tools do you use, how can Amazon seller or e-commerce seller benefit using your services. But let's start with kind of to understand the scale. Can you tell us some numbers? How long are you in the business? And how many assistants do you have in your pool, in your database, from which countries?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started business in 2018. We were more active as a concierge app for busy professionals. And then during the pandemic, we shifted our business model to cater more to businesses, small businesses, including e-commerce and Amazon sellers, to really offer remote work at a high quality and make sure that small businesses can grow and scale beyond just their own team. We have more than 1,000 assistants at the moment, and we're growing pretty quickly. This is just since 2020 when we entered this market, we have grown to this size and basically are growing at the same clip. So hopefully next year will be a double.
And VAs are coming from which countries?
They're typically from the Philippines, from India, or Latin American countries, depending on the client's needs, right? If you need someone who's bilingual, who can speak Spanish, and you need someone to do sales calls in Spanish for you, or maybe do customer service or customer support in Spanish, we will probably recruit someone from Latin America, maybe from Argentina or Mexico. But if you need someone, if you want to focus on affordability or on certain skill sets, then we might pick one from a different country.
And your VAs are working like 100% from home, or you have some offices in Philippines?
Yeah, we don't have an office, so we actually drink our own Kool-Aid. All my teams are distributed and remote. That's the same with our virtual assistants, which is great because they are actually flexible. We have a lot of single moms or generally assistants with families. And so they can actually take care of their family and still have a good paying job. So that's actually, I think, one of our strengths.
Cool. And let's talk from the beginning. Let's say if there is a business owner, a small business, one guy starts some kind of, let's say Amazon business, e-commerce store. At what time that entrepreneur should start thinking about using VAs or your kind of service? Because it's additional cost. It's maybe a new thing to manage additional person. But from my experience, sometimes when you are overwhelmed with work, now it's no time. You don't have time to hire a VA and spend time in testing him and training him. So what is your advice?
Absolutely. So I would say it's like there isn't really a one true point in time. But if you are growing and if you're scaling and you don't want to remain at the point where you are with your sales and with your operations, at some point you have to get an additional team member. And if you don't require that person to be in the office with you, if you're open to remote labor, then I would highly recommend going for a virtual assistant because just the affordability and the fact that if you go with a bigger company, like let's say a managed service like Wing, we do the quality assurance for you, we do the payroll for you. So all these kind of additional tasks that would come with hiring someone, you don't actually have to worry, and you can focus on delegating tasks and on scaling your operations without the administrative hassle.
But how to find out that time at your business timeline when to like start thinking about VA? Because maybe today a business owner doesn't have this like 20 hours per week tasks, like, but maybe in 1 month it will be too late to search for VA because he will be so busy.
It's a tough decision, and I honestly, I can't tell you, right? So it's ultimately, I would encourage any e-commerce business owner to think in the future. And obviously, there are assumptions that need to be made. It's never a certain decision, but if you anticipate, if you forecast your sales to double and your operations to double within, let's say, a 3-month time frame, and you're already sort of at capacity, right? There isn't really much more time in your day, then I would say be proactive, rather do it earlier than later, and look for someone to add to your team. At Wing Assistant, we start with part-time assistants, so 20 hours a week, would come at $499. Obviously, if you're still small, that might still be too much money. You can explore getting someone from Upwork or Fiverr and start with a couple of hours for maybe one specific, very repetitive task, and just test it out how good you are with delegating and outsourcing work. And if that works well, you can still look into getting a part-time assistant, or even eventually scaling up to full-time.
Mm-hmm. So actually, let's talk about how your service is structured. So you say you offer minimum a part-time worker, so from part-time to full-time, like 2 options, right?
Correct. Yeah, full-time is the standard what most people have, but many people actually start with a part-time assistant just to test it out and see how things are going. And then typically after 1 or 2 months, they see, okay, well, actually, I am being much more productive. Most people don't really have less work. They just do more, including myself. And yeah, if it is going well, then they would upgrade. And an additional, I guess, important piece of information is that it's not limited to just customer service or just e-commerce. We also do offer roles for digital marketing, for graphics design. We even have healthcare assistants and sales callers. So there is a variety of services that you can also utilize. It doesn't really only have to be for strictly e-commerce related tasks.
And is there a minimum you have to sign up at the beginning for a minimum period of time?
There's no minimum period of time for general assistance. If we have instated a 3-month minimum for sales callers, just to make sure that, because this is very highly sought after talent, and we actually have to expend a lot of resources in getting good sales callers. So just because that is so expensive for us, we want to make sure that a client commits to a 3-month time frame. But if you're going for a general virtual assistant or an executive assistant, then there's no time frame and no lock, and you can basically try it out just for a month.
And in terms of tools and interface, how do you communicate with your clients, and how client communicates with VA? Like, can you give us some practical information?
Yeah. We do have our own app that most people actually use it on the desktop. You can chat, you can actually record your screen and share tasks. There's an in-house tool for that. You can also share your passwords in a secure manner through our password management system. We have a flowchart creator. So it's really all geared towards delegation and task management, and our app helps with that. You can chat. You can also start a video call through our app, and it's basically all cared for. And then if you're not on your desk, we also have mobile apps that you can use on the go to delegate a task basically when you're out of your office. But obviously, we do realize many businesses use their own platforms. They want to onboard their assistant onto Slack or onto Microsoft Teams or whatnot. That's always also possible, and we don't restrict anyone in the means of communication.
All right. So basically, it's pretty flexible. I also would not like maybe to use a second platform for task management. So it's good that it's possible to use to connect your VA from your platform to our task manager. And if the person is working part-time for a business, a VA is working part-time, does it mean that they work another part-time for another company?
Yes, typically that is the case. So we hire all of our assistants full-time. And if there's a client that only utilizes them part-time, as soon as we can, we will pair them with another client to make sure that all their hours are utilized. So yeah, if you decide to come to us, start with a part-time assistant. The sooner you make the decision whether to upgrade, the better, because then we can ensure you can stick with your existing assistant and make sure that the pair remains intact.
All right. So if I hire part-time assistant from your company, and now after 2 months I see that I have really good I resonate well with this person and I can already give a full-time job, it is possible that I will not get access to this VA full-time, right? Because it might be working for another company.
That could be, yes. So again, that's why we encourage everyone to make that decision as quickly as possible. However, in the worst case, first of all, we can always see if the other client of your assistant will be flexible and would be willing to switch to another part-time resource. In any case, however, if you want to upgrade, you can always do that. And the worst case is just someone else would join your team instead of the assistant. And yeah, we do have basically keep track on the back end of all of your tasks. So onboarding a new person is very seamless with us, because on the back end, we'll make sure that that transition is done smoothly.
All right. And in terms of payment, you said that you take care of payrolls. That means $4.99 for part-time basic assistant. The customer is paying to you directly, and then you take care of like official salary in that country, right?
100%. That is correct. Obviously, you can, like many customers of ours do that if they want to tip their assistant or if they want to pay a bonus. We basically take that one-on-one and transfer it to your assistant. So we take care of that too. But yes, the general payroll, like just monthly payments, we do all that for you. You can either use your credit card or we set up a bank transfer to save some costs. Either option is available, and then you don't really have to deal with any payroll or administrative hassles.
So does it mean that for VA, let's say in Philippines, it's much more beneficial to work with you than to work on like freelancer platforms?
Yeah.
Because on freelancer platforms, they just get payment, but with you, probably they get some social benefits and like it's protected by government, right?
So that's one part. So basically, the benefits part. Also, we have an internal bonus structure. We have an internal promotion structure. So if an assistant is doing really well with us, they internally get promoted. They also work within a team. So while all of our clients have a dedicated assistant, they can, like your assistant can still use their team and ask for support. If there is a task that they are not sure how to do or someone else has more experience, there's this internal support structure that as a freelancer, you just wouldn't have, right? And the same thing counts for if you're sick or if you want to go on leave for a couple of days. We make sure that someone else, if possible, will take care of the task for the client. That infrastructure and that support structure just doesn't exist for any freelancer.
And can you give us a little bit insights? How do you select those virtual assistants? You have a big database of 1,000 people, and let's say I hire now full time, and you need another one to find. Like, what is your process of selection, finding like really good and hard workers?
Yeah. So the 1,000 assistant, that's just the active assistants, right? That is assistants who are working with clients. Our database is probably, I want to say, probably 1,000 times as big, where we basically have our pipeline of applicants and candidates. Obviously we engage with those talent pools and make sure that whenever someone is available and is a good match for a client, we pair them. So if you come to us, Augustus, and you say you need, let's say, a graphics designer or someone who can manage your listings for you, then we'll just go into that talent pool and see our vast pool of people and their skills. And we will then inquire whether they're available or not. And if they're not already hired, we'll hire them and pay them with you.
All right. And so you have a big pool, and now a business owner comes, or business representative, and they want a specific VA, let's say the one which will take care of customer support of Amazon brand. How do you find the match? Like, does the client need to fill out like big forms, or how does it work?
Yeah, no big forms. We try to make it as easy as possible. So typically you would speak with one of our sales representatives and figure out whether Wing is a good fit for you and whether we can provide value to your business. If that's a yes, you get matched with a customer success manager or client success manager, and they will be on a call with you for 15, maybe 30 minutes to figure out what exactly do you need, what are your requirements for the job. And we then fill out the form for you where we note all the details of the job description that you like. And that obviously pertains to the experience. If you want an entry level, if you want a expert level, what tools, like what software tools are they going to use? What kind of skills do they need to have, and what kind of tasks are they doing? We then take this, we call it a requisition. We take this and provide it or give it to our talent acquisition team. And the talent acquisition team then takes all your requirements and finds the best fit of talent for your account, and then we match you.
All right. And what happens if, let's say now we have a lot of sales in Amazon business, we need a lot of help with customer support, but maybe suddenly some of the products just like don't sell anymore. We have less customer support, but now we have this VA, which we need for like maybe just 30% of the time, like before. Can we like train this VA to do other stuff, or
100%? So they are like, they're a team member of yours, right? So you can leverage them however you want. So if you like them, if you want to retain them, I know like especially e-commerce businesses can be cyclical. So if a cycle goes downwards, maybe after the holidays, and you don't have as much work in a certain vertical, but you maybe want to prepare for the next season and want to do research, etc., then someone who has done customer service beforehand may be able to do research for you to prepare the next season. So that's one approach. Obviously, that's not always feasible. Some businesses just have lower sales, don't have the means to retain an assistant. And that's, I would say, also an advantage with Wing, because you can basically cancel or pause your subscription at any time. It's a month-to-month subscription. And if you don't have as many sales for a couple months, you don't have to fire someone. You just easily pause your subscription, and then you're good, and you can upscale at any time at a later point, always.
Yeah, that's nice. That's flexible. And of course, Wing is not like a pioneer in this type of service. Can you give us a little bit, compare yourself to other similar services? Why would someone choose you, not others?
Absolutely, yeah. So you're right, there is a ton of virtual assistant services out there. I would say what's unique to us, there's a couple things. The very most important aspect, I would say, is quality, right? So when it comes to output and talent quality, I can confidently say that no other competitor matches us. You can just look up the online reviews for Wing Assistant. We do compare at the highest level. So that's one. And we do have a very sophisticated system in the back end where we have supervisors to do audits. We have an entire quality system or control system. And we also leverage artificial intelligence to monitor conversations between the clients and the assistants and flag whenever there is a negative sentiment. So if there ever is something that is potentially has friction, your assistant supervisor will immediately be notified and proactively look at your account and see if there is anything that you can that we can help with to resolve that problem. Again, we also have our customer success managers. So if ever there is an issue with your subscription, you want to upgrade, you want to downgrade, or there's a higher level problem, you always have someone 24/7 essentially to reach out to and troubleshoot any problems.
Okay, so you kind of, as a client, you have access to a supervisor. Let's say I was imagining maybe we start working and the VA is working on customer support, but maybe business owner sees that that VA is not really doesn't adapt the style of writing, the language or the voice of the company, and like they are frustrated. So how would you solve these kind of issues?
Yeah, so obviously, if there is no more remedy in direct interaction with your assistant, that's always what I would recommend as a first step. Try to work with your assistant and see if you can work it out. If that doesn't work, first of all, you always have your client success manager to reach out to, and if necessary, will replace your assistant at no cost and make sure that someone else will fill that position who does the job as per your requirements. So I think that's an important part. And again, like if there ever is any issue, there is a whole network or a whole support structure to make that happen. So you just let us know whatever is not working, and it'll be fixed on your behalf.
That's good. And of course, if Amazon seller wants to use Wing Assistant, for them it's very important that virtual assistant understands the Amazon space. They probably don't want to spend like 2 months training a person. Do you have any kind of, I don't know, department which works with VAs specifically for Amazon sellers, and you train them with up-to-date information?
Absolutely. So I would say there's 3 aspects to that. First of all, we only hire the top tier talent for a specific vertical, right? So if you're an e-commerce business, we obviously hire people with experience in that space, and they have to prove through assessments and through a rigorous interview process whether they're actually up to the mark. So that's one. Secondly, they even though they're dedicated to you and you won't share the resource and the time frame they're working with you, they are part of a larger team. And all the other team members do have experience and work on e-commerce clients as well. So whenever your assistant has a question or needs some help with a specific issue, they do have the resources within their team to get help and have that support structure. And then finally, whenever there are skills that they don't have, but you want them to have, let's say you want to use a different customer relationship management tool, or you want them to have almost any other type of skill, we have a training department that we can utilize to train your assistant for a specific skill. And we do that all for you without you having to train your assistant.
And you say they have an access to like bigger team of VAs to get questions answered. How does it work? Like they have chat, or they meet every day, or?
Yeah, they have chats. They have their supervisor within the team, and so just like in an in-person office, they can always reach out to their supervisor and say, "Hey, I need XYZ," or I don't really know how to tackle this issue. And then the supervisor knows their team members, and they will connect these two and have them help each other. There's also more social events apart from chats. There's also team events that we do internally to kind of keep morale high. And really, it's for us part of our company culture to support and facilitate a friendly environment, a supportive environment. And that's really mostly up to the supervisors to manage that.
Yeah, that's great. So we learned that your service starts from $500 more or less for part-time assistant for basic needs per month, which is a great price for many of businesses, I guess, especially in Europe or in North America. And do you have any kind of, to convince people to sign up with you, any examples of case studies of businesses who used virtual assistants and maybe helped them grow the business or saved a lot of money?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, if you want to, you can go to wingassistant.com, and we do have a couple case studies displayed there, and you can check them out and see what kind of metrics improved. One example is ELW Shop. They're a business that sells leatherware, and so they're actually saving about more than $120,000 a year, every year, just because if you compare the labor cost in the United States with the cost you pay for other countries, it's just much, much more feasible and affordable. And another client, they're a magazine distribution company, so not strictly Amazon sellers, but still in the e-commerce space. They were able to improve their response rate in their customer service department by 29%, and ultimately increase customer satisfaction, and that trickles down to bottom line revenue growth as well.
Amazing. And actually, I got another question. So talking about Philippines, I know that there is a culture there of 13th month pay. How do you handle this? Is it coming from the cost of the client, or you do it internally from your cost?
Yeah, it's all internal. So our customers, our clients don't have to worry about any of that. Obviously, you are welcome to pay tips, to pay bonuses if you're super satisfied, or if you have an internal bonus structure to incentivize your employees or your team members, you can do that. We don't take a margin of that. We basically give it a one-to-one ratio to your assistant. But yeah, all the other aspects of pay, like 13th month pay, etc., that's all included in your monthly subscription, so you don't have to worry about any of that.
And what about holidays? So they probably have right to go for some rest, right?
Yeah. So there are, I think, seven holidays during the year that our operations are basically shut down. That includes New Year's, Veterans Day, Christmas, and so there is a couple of days where our operations are just silent and everyone can breathe. However, if you have specific requirements, if you are in a business that needs to be open on during those holidays, we work with you and make that happen, and make sure that the assistants are fine with that too, or someone else can come in, fill in from their team. So yeah, those are case-by-case issues that we can also happily deal with.
And what about VA getting like 1 month holidays per year or something like that?
Yeah, so that is typically not the case. So when a VA, an assistant with us, has a certain tenure, after 1 year, typically, we do offer them to go on leave for a couple of days. And you'll just, like, as a client, you'll work with the client success manager to make sure that there is no outage, that all the tasks are being done. And obviously, we want to make sure that all of our assistants are happy, that we retain them, and that they stick with their accounts and have a work-life balance.
And you mentioned at some point that you kind of honor your best performing VAs. So I'm wondering, how do you know if the VA is doing a great job? Do you ask clients to evaluate your VAs, or how does it work?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different things that we do. We do send surveys to our clients. Obviously, the customer or client success managers, they always get a feel of how things are going. And then the supervisors of your assistant, they have a constant eye on everyone, and they supervise the output. They oversee basically all the operation and how operations and how things are delivered. So that's how we make sure to always have a good image, or a good situational awareness of how each VA is doing. And then, obviously, we do want to not only promote work-life balance, but also offer opportunities for our assistants to rise up the ranks. So we do offer internal promotions. Again, it's not something that you as a client need to worry about. That is something we take care of in the background to basically facilitate and improve retention and happiness of our assistants overall.
All right. So if someone is interested in Ving assistants, you will find the link below in the description. I don't remember if there was a special offer. Maybe you will find probably in the description.
Probably, yeah, we can do that.
And if you need any help or if you have questions before signing up with Ving, I guess you have some kind of very quick support for that, right?
Absolutely. We do have we do have a website chat. So it's you can basically come in anytime to our website, wingassistant.com. There's a chat button. You can always ask a question right there. You are also free to set up a time with one of our salespeople and explore whether Ving is a good fit for you. So there's ample opportunities for you to explore before you make a commitment.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Roland. And good luck.
Thank you, Augustus.
Bye-bye.
Cool. Bye.
I hope you liked this conversation. And if you want to sign up for Ving, you will find the link below in the description. And as always, if you like the content we create, don't forget to click like below this player. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video with Roland, where we talk more general how to hire virtual assistants, how to find the best ones, and what to be aware of when you are a business owner wanting to get VAs.